Today we're going to discuss solutions for roofing contractors. And by solutions, what we mean is the Timberline Office Suite for roofing contractors. We'll discuss the estimating and how it interfaces with job cost accounting and project management through the billing systems, through external applications such as Excel, Microsoft Project, and various other applications. The idea of Timberline Office for roofing contractors is that we want anyone, whether it's an estimator, project manager, owner, controller, whomever, to be able to see any information about any job at any time without ever entering the same information twice. The Timberline Office desktop is where we're going to start, and this application enables one to see all the daily activities that you might do, regardless of whether you're a president, you're a controller, the principal of the company, if you're a project manager, if you're accounting, bookkeeping type of person. So whatever your daily activities are and tasks are, they can be listed on the Timberline desktop, and you can have the applications that you need to use available to you at any point in time. So, for example, I'm going to let's say that I am an estimator, and I want to look at the estimating my particular start date that I like to have. I simply click on this item here, and it shows for me, it displays for me all the estimates throughout the system, regardless of who the estimator is, what the status of that estimate is, when its bid is due, all the information associated with it. If I want to open up any one of these estimating applications, I can simply click on it, and it will bring up the estimating software. So in this particular case, I've got a particular estimating job that we are taking off on for this customer. The estimating software has essentially three primary philosophies. The first is we want it to be faster than what you're doing now, potentially, and because if it's not, and Timberline has added a number of features and capabilities to enable you to do a takeoff very quickly, even if the takeoff is in the field. You can do it potentially from a handheld PDA device. You could take it off using a field drawing that you do. However you do your takeoff, Timberline has tools to enable you to do it far quicker than you could do it by hand with tremendous accuracy, and the end result is a proposal to the customer and information to your internal staff for purchasing and that sort of thing that is very clear, very nicely formatted, and it doesn't cost you a lot of time to do it. So the first benefit and advantage of the Timberline estimating software for roofers is speed. The second one is flexibility. And what I mean by flexibility is that you can take off this job in any order that you want. If you have to do a field drawing, you can draw it in the field and use that handheld sketched drawing if you want, scan it in, and actually do a takeoff from it. You can then take those numbers and send them over to a proposal. You can do it in any order, calling things what you want to call it. However your particular approach to estimating is, Timberline can pretty much match that. So in order for that to work, Timberline has behind the scenes a database of parts and pieces and labor activities for whatever roofing system that you happen to be installing, whether it's commercial, membrane, single ply, whatever the application is, if it's residential, any type of shake roofing system, whatever your roofing system is, it can be built into your database, and then you can have access to it in a number of very easy to use, powerful tools. One of these tools is to access my list of material and roofing activities is called models. And what models do, they enable me to set up a roofing job and take it off however I need to take it off, and I can essentially establish a dialogue, if you will, that makes sense for me. So in this particular application, I might be doing some sort of a built-up roof on another building on this particular job, and the models give me the ability on the left-hand side to put in prompts for the type of takeoff that I'm doing. This might be a different building, and I can separate my job in any number of ways. What type of building is it? our roof system is it built up? EPDM, single ply, modified bitumen, whatever it happens to be, you can select your application. This little prompt that shows up here on the left side is something that you can define, or you can take it out of the box from Timberline and change it. The prompts on the left are also something that you can define. So essentially, using a model, you can reference all the parts and pieces and groupings of items that you might happen to have in your database, and you can set it up to walk you through an estimate in the way that you do it, not necessarily the way that I do it, not necessarily the way your competitor does it, but it can really be formed to the way that you do a takeoff and do an estimate, do a proposal, and that sort of thing. As I go through here, I get down to a field that asks me to enter or take off the area of a particular roof. Timberline has an incredibly powerful tool for doing takeoffs called on-screen takeoff or E-plan takeoff. And I can access my E-plan takeoff simply by clicking on a little button up here, and it brings up my E-plan takeoff and will enable me to do a takeoff from my field drawing if I like, or from a set of prints if I have an official set of prints. In this particular case, I have field drawing of a roof system, and it wants to know, it asks me back in my model what the area of the roof was. I can simply come in here and select the roof system. On the left are all we call them conditions, but really what they are is all the things that I might possibly take off. In this case, I'm selected membrane roof, and all I have to do at this point is come over here and click on the corners of this roof. Now, the beauty of this is it just took off, it calculated my roofing material required at 5 squares. If my drawing scale changes, I can change it right there, and it calculates 21 squares if it's 16th scale. If you actually have a field drawing with no scale, you can actually simply put in the points between a known distance, and it will calculate the scale for you and drop in, and from that point on, every takeoff that you do will flow through appropriately with the right quantities. To take this 21 squares and drop it back in the estimate, I simply click on this button here that says Send Value. And it takes that information and it drops it right back into the estimating software. And I can continue on. Now, I could have that information in roofing squares or in square feet, whichever one I want. What type of base sheet do I need for this? On the left, I'm reading the prompt. On the right is a little help sheet that shows me everything that I might possibly need for the base sheet of this roof, the number of plies, the kind of surfacing is required that might be required for this roof, and so on. There's a number of things. All of these here are user-defined, and you can add to them, you can subtract from them. If you do certain procedures and activities within the types of roof systems that you install, you can add those questions right to this list, and it's there every time. So if you add a junior estimator at some point in time, or just bring on a new person, and that you would like them to follow the procedures of your company, you can simply set up a model that will allow you to define those procedures and to say start at the top and answer the questions down to the bottom. If it's an available deck, you can do that sort of thing. You can select EPDM thickness, whatever. There's as many questions or as few questions as you like. Once you're done with that, the system will actually generate for me a detailed, okay, it actually goes out to my database of parts and pieces and items and all that sort of thing, and it generates a very detailed, comprehensive list of all the associated materials that I might need for this particular estimate. So in this particular case, I can not only see the material that I might want, I can see the big picture of exactly how much the material and labor pricing might be to install that roofing system. I can break it down by simply clicking on any one of these items. So I click on the flashing. In this particular case, it gives me a list of all the various flashing need, whatever hatches that I might have taken off. I can take all the penetrations. I can take whatever it is that I took off. It shows up in here in great detail. But it only took me a matter of a few seconds to do the takeoff because I simply pointed at the corners of the roof, or I pointed at the particular hatches or penetrations that I might have needed, and it calculates and takes off all the appropriate parts and pieces. Once I have those parts and pieces, there's some very powerful tools here that allow me to view this job in a number of different ways. At the bottom of the screen, you might see that I have tabs labeled Takeoff Order, Assembly, Takeoff, Project Management, Job Management, Schedule. Several of these tabs are user-defined. So I might have a Project Management tab that enables me to view the results of this particular job in a format that is beneficial to me if I'm running the job. So, for example, I took the material type and then I broke it down into the various towers, Tower A and Tower B. This commercial job happens to have a couple of towers, and I can see exactly, associated with each one of these material types, I can see how much cost, labor, and material is associated with each one. So I've got $24,000 in material prices. That's my calculated cost. On the in Tower B, I've got almost $30,000 worth of labor. Maybe I think that there's going to be something more difficult about Tower B. So I can actually put in a number. I can say, well, where did that $29,000 come from? Well, in this particular case, it came from the framing items. If I come down to flashing, where I know I have more items. I can take any one of these material types and I can back into it. I can say, well, it's calculating $2,800 here, but I think it's really going to run up to, say, $4,000. I can go like that and change it arbitrarily, and then the system asks me, okay, well, you just added, I calculated one price, but you changed the price. What do you want me to do with that $1,100 that you just added to the cost of this particular item, material activity? And you can spread it. You could add it as a lump sum number. You can, which is what I'm going to do. You can multiply it, divide it by that number. I'm going to spread it, which means it's going to take that $1,100, which is more than the $2,800 that was in there before, and it's going to proportionately spread that value across all the things that comprise my flashing in Tower A and B. Once I do that, it changes all the numbers underneath, changed all these numbers proportionately to whatever value that I put in there. So they've increased proportionately. You can do the same types of things on your profits and markups and overhead. You can take these information and you can send it out to a schedule, if you like, to Microsoft Project. I can, for example, I can select a scheduling tool, and it will actually generate a schedule that can be read into Microsoft Project or Primavera or other scheduling systems, which is a very efficient use of your time, because one of the most difficult things about generating an actual schedule, if the general contractor or the client requires it, is it's time-consuming and difficult often to get all the details of a particular schedule in. In this case, all you would have to do is simply click on the Generate button, and it sets up the initial schedule for you with all the resources and associated activities. You also have the ability to take a list of material and send it out to what we call our buyout module. And what buyout does is give me a list of material that I have for a particular job, and it allows me to set up all of the suppliers who I might want to send a quote to. Once I send it, and it brings the list of material down here at the bottom, I have various suppliers here, or manufacturers, depending on who it is, or what type of roof system it is. You can then send this out for quote, and you can send it across multiple suppliers or to multiple manufacturers if applicable, if it makes sense to do so. And you do that simply by in the quote, it generates a list of material items and sends it to a particular vendor. It knows all the job information, knows all the quantities associated with it. I can send this via email, via fax, via mail, via however I choose, really. And it generates this quote. When that quote comes back, ABC Roofing Supply, in this case, flat rate, a lump sum. They didn't break it down into all these parts and pieces. They just said this particular roofing system has $72,500 is what our quote from ABC Roofing. So what I do is I change this number down at the bottom of the screen under ABC Roofing, and it recalculates proportionately the unit prices of all these items. If I'm comfortable with this, I can select, say, this is the vendor I want to buy everything from, and it tells me I selected ABC Roofing Supply. I can also, at that point, issue a purchase order. This is very significant because one of the main difficulties of writing purchase orders is writing purchase orders, right, where I don't want to have to necessarily write down all these individual parts and pieces, establish a quoted price if I don't want to. I can literally do all of that, also apply all the appropriate job cost information, the job name, job number, the appropriate area or phase of the job, the cost code, the cost types of information, labor, material, equipment, subcontract, whatever it happens to be. I can generate all of that right here, right now, literally, simply by clicking on Issue a Purchase Order. It sets all that up for me. That's a huge savings in time, but a dramatic impact on my profitability. Why? Because I'm going to know not only what material I ordered for this job is, but what I agreed to pay, my committed cost is set up. As invoices come in from the vendor, which I can see back here, again, on my project management view, back here in the Timberline desktop. So in this particular case, I'm looking at all my active jobs. I see my original contract, that number has been derived from my original estimate. I can see the approved change orders. Pending changes and approved changes. Timberline allows you to track and maintain all your change order transaction activity, whether it's pending or approved, which is very nice because it has, again, a very direct and dramatic impact on how you might bill a particular job. As I drill down by simply clicking on one of these jobs, I can run down and look at all my costs associated with my roofing systems. I have a total estimated cost, and it has costs go through here. They show up in the cost to date files, and I can click on any one of these things, and I can see the total labor, material, burden, whatever happens to be across any job cost transaction phase that I've set up. So if you wanted to see all the labor associated with the membrane roofing system, or with associated with flashings, or associated with any other type of activity that you have on your roofing systems, you can do it simply by pointing at it. This information has been derived from transactions made in other places in the system, such as payroll, such as accounts payable and purchasing. So the information has only been entered once, but as a project manager, I can see all this information at the click of a button, and I don't have to enter it, and it was never entered twice. This has a dramatic impact on my billing systems because I am going to know exactly how much of this job is complete with a great degree of accuracy, and including committed costs. So I don't forget to bill for my committed costs that are going to happen very shortly, perhaps, and I know where all these information came from. Another powerful feature and the tool associated with the Timberline estimating is the ability to not only send information over to my job cost accounting, purchasing, billing systems internally, but but also generate reports for customers. Say, for example, a proposal. Timberline has a tool called the Estimating Report Manager that enables me to take all this information that I derived from my estimate software of labor, material, equipment, subcontracts, whatever I happen to have generated out of my estimate, and create custom reports. And many roofing contractors use a custom proposal form because their estimates are typically done in the field, and they want to generate some documentation that looks good, that incorporates maybe some digital photographs of what the roof was, if it's a re-roofing situation. And what I'm going to show you now is a capability of the software to send information to other systems, say Crystal Reports or Microsoft Access or Excel or any number of other applications, and use that information to generate a proposal system that fits what you might want to do. So I select my custom estimating report manager. It enables me to select a particular report, and once I have that report, I can then jump over to in this case, it's a Microsoft application developed by one of our solution providers, and we can take the information from the estimate, and we can then combine it with some digital photographs from the field in this particular case, and inspection items. There's a list of items here that you can select from. You can give them a grade over here in the condition, and you can say, oh yeah, I have a photograph for one of these particular ones. I can select the photograph out here, and it will actually import that photograph and put it right in the proposal manager, proposal generator. You can write unlimited comments. Once you've gone through this, you've defined your particular inspection items for the types of roofs that you do. This is totally user-defined. And again, this is a custom report that was developed by one of our solution providers around the needs of a particular roofing contractor. You can then put these pictures, combine the text with the pictures. You can generate an actual proposal document, if you like. And it will generate a contract. It will generate a grading sheet of exactly what these what your grades have, your checklist. Is it good, fair, poor, bad? How does it turn out? You can select your it generates a contract. It generates the actual report that you might want to use. Sends out the billing information. It basically does everything that you would need to have for this particular proposal, printed out all in a very nice, legible, professional-looking form, and really didn't cost you any time other than selecting the report. It collates all the information, collates the digital photos, and that type of flexibility of integration that really makes the Timberline Office software so powerful. So in review of the Timberline Office software and systems is we have tools that enable you as a owner, controller, project manager, estimator, whomever is responsible for information associated with jobs. We enable those people to be able to see any information about any job at any time. The information was entered only one time, even if it started in the estimate. I can send that information through the system, generating purchase orders, generating billing information, sending customer proposal documents. I can see all this information, and then I can track the job because it establishes my budget of costs for labor and material, equipment, subcontracts, and others. I can track those costs against what really happened from payroll and payables and that sort of thing. Through the job, information is only entered one time. That gives you dramatic, powerful control over your job, estimates, and your cash flow. That is fundamentally the power of the Timberline Office system. You have dramatically increased your power to impact your cash flow in the most beneficial fashion. We would like the opportunity to discuss this further with you. If it makes sense for you and your business, please feel free to contact Timberline or your local solution provider at your convenience. Thank you.